Okay, my friends, we're back again with another Northland rebuild. This came in yesterday and I'm just starting to check it out now. The compressor is seized and I pulled out about, I want to say, 3 ounces of refrigerant, which is an R12. I think this is an R12 unit. Let's see. R134A. I stand corrected. All right, so let me see what we got here. We have 1, 2, 3.5 ounces of R134A, and this thing takes 7. So we may have a leak in here, and we're going to check this out. I'm going to pull out the compressor. It does smell like the Freon's the oil's burnt, so it's definitely a burnout here. Other than that, it looks all original, and let's get started. Okay, so we pulled the compressor out. There it is right here. Here's the number. It's a TPA 1413YXA, same as the other compressors we pulled out of the other Northland units. So we're going to take this outside and wash it down, and then we're going to start to do some additional checks and check the pressurize it. We'll put a compressor in there first, and we'll pressurize it and go from there. The customer wants a complete rebuild, so we have to change the condenser fan motor, the evaporator fan motor, and the timer. Okay, so stand by. Okay, here we are, all cleaned up. Got a bath, took it outside, washed it down in the pressure washer, cleaned it up the best we could. So now at least we have some clean space to work with. And one other thing is I'm going to replace the insulation on these covers. See, this is all falling apart. So I ordered new sound deadening material, 1/2 inch thick, and we'll replace that. Alright, so here's the old compressor. I'm going to crimp off these lines. Because we're going to throw these out into the dump. Okay, that's how we do it, right there. Alright, now let's get a compressor. We are back, and here is the unit cleaned up. Here is the compressor that's going to go in there. And the customer asked us also to replace the condenser fan motor, the timer, and the evaporator fan motor. So the evaporator fan motor I ordered. What we're going to do here is we're going to convert this to use the Whirlpool 2-watt clockwise motor, because these motors I can't find in this wattage anymore. It's got 4 legs on it to hold it in place, and we're going to convert that to 3 legs by drilling a hole in the bracket. I've done this before on some of the other rebuilds, but I'm going to do it again and show you how I do that, so stand by. Okay, so we're going to take out this bolt here and this bolt back here, and then there's another one back here, and this whole bracket is going to slide right out. Okay, so here is the fan, and we're going to remove these 4 legs here that hold that condenser fan motor on, and also off the fan motor, because the new fan motors only have 3 bolts. You can see, like, from here, here, and here. So we could probably use these 2 existing feet and just take one of these off, put it here, and mount it up there, and we'll be good to go. Okay, let's remove these. Okay, so I'm going to remove the fan motor from here, but I want you to see you can leave these 2 brackets in here. And let me get one of the new motors and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, this is the motor. that I'm going to use. 833-697. This is a Whirlpool motor. It's a very good motor, very strong motor, and it's very quiet. And we use them in a lot of Sub-Zeros. So let's start getting that ready. Okay, so here's the new motor installed on these 2 feet. It's pretty sturdy, but we're going to put this on here. We're going to fix this so that we can adjust this so that that will go in right up there. We'll put a little mark on there, up here, drill a hole in it, and put a screw in there. So, and make sure if you do this, you want to make sure that the cable coming out of the fan motor is on this side, because that's where the wiring is. You want it to come out over here and not in the back or up. Just makes it easier. So let me map this out, and we'll go on, continue. Alright, so I loosened all the nuts so that I could shift it around. You want to make sure that it's centered so the fan blade doesn't hit the housing. But you can see here that I just have to drill a hole right there like that. And I think the last time I did this, I ground this down a little bit to give myself a little bit more room so I can go up. So why don't we do this before we drill the hole? Let's put the fan blade on and see what kind of clearance we have around the shroud here. Okay, so in this kit they give you some wire nuts, a little rubber washer, and you especially need this one on a metal blade. If it's a plastic blade, you can get away with it, but I still put them on anyway. You put the rubber washer on. Now what we have to do is we have to center this motor so it doesn't hit the shroud. And that's going to take a little finessing. So let me work that out. I'm going to screw this down and see what I need to do. You can see the difference in the clearance here, and see up here it's touching. So we have to pull the motor down, and to do that we have to shorten this. We have to shorten this bracket here, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So you can see here, this is difficult for me to do because I'm accustomed to working with both hands, and I'm holding this camera here. So I'm going to adjust this bracket here, and you notice how the blade is moving. So I loosened up these 2 screws here, and I'm going to loosen up these also to give this a little wiggle room. And we can tighten these all up once we find the right position. So pushing this over, you can see we have the clearance, see? And you can see over here how much we're going to have to trim. We're going to trim off just enough so we can get a screw in there. And we pull this down a little bit more until we get the right space. So let me do that with both hands, and then I'll show you how it's done. Okay, let me show you what I did here. Here's the bracket. You can see I cut off. Here's the original bracket. I cut off that space there where the original hole was, and then I drilled a new hole, a 5/32 hole in that bracket. So now we have to put this on and mark it where we're going to drill it in the frame. But I might also have to make another adjustment on one of the other brackets and drill out the hole so I can shift it around. Watch me do it. Okay, so let me show you what I did here. Now I haven't drilled a hole in this bracket yet to mount this leg here. The blade is just about perfectly centered, but I took the bolt out over here, and I'm going to drill another hole there because I want to get the blade in the center. So if I push this up to where it was, it pushes the blade. You see how the blade goes all the way up? It's too close. So by drilling a hole here and drilling a hole there, and we'll be done. Okay, here's the finished product. We got plenty of clearance around there now, so we can just consider this part of the job done. Now, actually, this is the bottom, so the cable is coming out on the right side, which is where I wanted it. So let's move on to the next thing. Okay, now it's time to fit the new compressor in. So as we've done before, we're going to have to modify the suction line on this compressor because it hits the cabinet. So as I've done before, we're going to take our flaring block and clamp it around here, and we're going to bend this. We're going to bend it this way so it clears the wall there. You'll see. I've done this before in the other videos if you want to see it, but I'm going to do it again just in case. Okay, as you can see here, the suction line is really close to the wall. And so we're going to twist this, bend it around a little bit, maybe about 15 degrees or so. You don't want to kink the line. You have to do it really carefully. You can watch some of the other videos and see what I've done. But what we want to do is we want to run a piece of 5/16 tubing up into this 5/16 tubing up here, which is the suction line. And you want to give this enough clearance down here. I mean, not that this thing's going to be moving around. I mean, we could. It's not, the compressor doesn't move. It vibrates a little bit, but you don't want it to rub up against the cabinet. And if this unit is not installed in the refrigerator cabinet itself, if this, for any reason that this tray is not level, it could push this unit up and cause the suction line to rub up against the cabinet. Now, I have a customer in Michigan that just texted me and told me that his unit's running fine, but it's making a vibration noise. And I told him to check and pull and push some lines and see if the noise goes away. And sometimes what you could do is you could take a tool, a piece of wood or something, and put it underneath the compressor and lift it up and see if that lessens any vibration noise if you have that problem, which I think is his problem. But for now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the compressor out, we're going to bend this line, and we're going to start putting things back together. Okay, so I got a flaring block on here. It's in the 3/8 slot. Be careful not to tighten it down too much because you'll squash the tubing, which can always swage it out, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to twist it. Okay, I moved it about 10 degrees. Okay, it's a little bit, I like to get it a little bit more if I can. Just be careful. You don't want to kink the tubing. Okay, that's about as far as I want to go with this. So just to be safe, I'll re-swage this out just to make sure that I didn't squash that tubing when we start to solder things together. Okay, so here's a better look of how much of a bend I have on there. You can see that's about 15 degrees. And that's about all you want to do. It's going to give you enough clearance so that the tubing doesn't rub up against the cabinet. Okay, so this is what, if you're going to buy good tubing, this is the good stuff. It's made by Mueller Industries. So it's much better than the stuff I've been buying over the internet. Much better. Okay, that's it. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here. I want you to see I put a couple of bends in it. I cut this down as short as I could. got to get in there at least 5/16 of an inch to get a good solid weld. And then I bent it a little bit this way to get it away from the wall, and then I'm going to put a 90-degree bend right here to tie it into the suction line heat exchanger. Okay, moving right along. Let's clean out our tubing here. Alright, so I've already made the pieces I need here. Swaged them out. This is the suction line here. It's going to go in like this, and this is the discharge line, which is going to go in like this. Okay, and then we're going to tie it into the high side and the low side. Okay, this is where we're at. Everything's soldered in here. We've got plenty of clearance away from the cabinet. So now we can bolt this down, and we can solder these connections in here. I swaged out both of these lines, and we'll put a filter dryer on here, put the condenser fan motor in there, and we should be ready to pressurize it. Okay, we are back and ready to put this thing together. However, just want to remind you that when we first took this thing apart, we had a burnout. The compressor was seized. And so I said in the beginning, it smelled like the oil was burned. So that means there's probably acid in the system. So we're going to do a flush. We're going to flush out the condenser, and we're going to flush out the evaporator. And then after that, we can solder in all our lines and pressurize the system. Okay, here's our nitrogen tank. Here's this hose setup I rigged up. We're going to run the flush through the condenser in its normal direction. We're going to put this container right here underneath here when we open up the valve, and we're going to see what kind of material comes out of there. If it's clear, then we know that we don't have a burnout, which is good. Stand by. I might not be able to do this without two hands, so stand by. Okay, this is where we're at. We're ready to flush the AC flush through the system. I'm going to put this in here like this to catch the fluid. I'm going to have to come back to you because I'm going to need two hands to do that, so stand by. Okay, let's see if that helps give you a little bit more visibility. Turn on my nitrogen tank. Then I have my high side gauge, which I'm going to open up. And then I'm going to open up this valve, which is going to allow the flush to go through the system. So you have to be ambidextrous to do this. Let's see. Here it comes. Got a little splash there. But look at the color. You see, it's like an orange color. See, orange color. That's contamination. And that's what you need to do whenever you work on a refrigerator that has a burnout. You have to make sure there's no acid in the system because it'll destroy the compressor and it maybe only last a couple of years. Alright. We'll do the same thing for the evaporator. Okay, so here I'm blowing out all the flush that was in the evaporator. It takes a while to get it to go through the capillary tube. But once we get it all out, and nothing else comes out, then we'll be ready to hook everything back up and check our wells and pressurize the system. Okay, we have completely flushed out the condenser coil and the evaporator coil, so we're ready now to put the compressor in. This is what came out. You can see how discolored that is. That's contaminated oil, acid. So let's move on and get this thing buttoned up. Okay, here we are. This is what we're going to do. We swaged out this filter dryer, 1/4 inch, into the condenser. The condenser, this is steel. This is not copper. It's not nickel coated. It's steel, so it's copper to steel. So in this situation, I always use 45% silver solder. It stays still 45. It's expensive, but it's great for steel to copper. Also, the cap tube right here is prepared, and you notice how far in I'm going. There's a little screen in here. You don't want to puncture it, so don't go in too far with this. But this is just enough. And then we're going to sweat these two lines up here, and we should be ready to pressurize the system and check for leaks. This capacitor, I'm going to move this over to here, so this is not going to be in the way. And then once we get the sweating done, we'll put the fan motor back in. Okay, let's put some flux on here. Alright, these are already fluxed, so we're going to solder here, 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 and here. Wait for it to glow before you put the solder in there. And always take the Schrader valve out of the filter, otherwise you'll melt the seal. So this is all done. We're going to wait for this to cool down. We're going to put our Schrader valves in here, and we're going to pressurize it and check for leaks. Okay, got our nitrogen tank hooked up. We're set at 200 psi. Hear anything leaking yet. It's showing 160, 65. It's pretty good. We'll leave it there. Check it for leaks with some bubbles. See if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. So let's go. Check it out. Always check the solder joints of the filter dryer too, because they leak. Sometimes, not a lot, but looking good. And that's what you want. You don't want to have any leaks, because then you got to take it all apart, resolder it. Do it right the first time. At least try to do it right the first time. Okay, so I'm going to wipe this soap noodles off here, and we're going to let it sit. It's now 10 after 11 in the morning, and I got some things to do, some errands to run, and we'll come back and see what time we get back, and if the pressure is still at 150, I want to say 165, almost 170. Then we can just evacuate the system. We'll pull a vacuum on it, check the compressor with a vacuum gauge and make sure it's strong and pulling down properly, and then we'll charge it up. And then we'll be done. In the meantime, we could put a condenser fan motor back in there, but I'm just going to wait. I need to put some insulation around here, some anti-vibration. There was a piece of foam on there. It's hard, it just kind of crumbles, so I need to put something around these lines so they don't vibrate. All right, so let's get back. Okay, this has been sitting for a couple hours. Pressure hasn't moved. Sounds good to me. We're going to drain out the nitrogen and pull a vacuum. Okay, we're going to get as low as we can with 29 inches in the vacuum. This gauge is not as accurate as a digital gauge or a micron gauge, but it's sufficient enough for domestic refrigeration work. So I'm satisfied. I know there's no moisture in the system. We just want to make sure it doesn't have any leaks. So now, after pulling the vacuum, we can shut everything down and recharge it. Okay, we're just about coming down to the wire here on this unit. This is what I did. Let me get the camera over here. Okay. So, I put a new condenser fan blade on here in addition to the motor, because the old fan blade was a little bit wobbly. It's not as strong as this. This is a 5 blade. This is a 3. This has a little bit stronger pitch, so we're going to get a little bit more air through the condenser, which is probably good. So just wanted to keep you up on that. Now, in case you haven't watched any of my other videos, this is the blade that I used. It's made by Packard, A63906. It's a 9-inch clockwise rotation hubless, 25-degree pitch. I used this in other Northlands. So this machine has been running, and it's just about ready to be shipped back. I'm just waiting for a new timer to come in, and I'm going to pull the top off and check the evaporator coil and also the evaporator fan motors. And the customer wanted me to change, beside the compressor, the timer, condenser fan motor, and the evaporator motors. I don't know if she needs an evaporator motor. Maybe we'll just oil it. We'll see what it's like when we get in there. But that's about it. So next video we should be able to button this thing up. It's been holding pressure for days on end here, and as soon as I turn it on, it starts to get cold. So that's it. We'll button it up, ship it back. Okay, my friends, here we are with our Northland rebuild number 4, I think this is. Let's do a recap. We put a new compressor in. We changed the condenser fan motor and the fan blade. We put in a new timer. We removed the cover for the evaporator and checked everything out. The motor that they have in there is actually better than anything we can buy today. I left it in there, just oiled it, and that's about it. So here's finish this one up and send it back to its owner. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.